You check your phone one more time before bed, telling yourself it's the last time. And somehow it's 1 a.m. and you're still answering emails nobody asked you to answer tonight. Here's the thing nobody tells you about people who can't stop working. It's not that they love their job so much. A lot of the time, it's the opposite. They're scared of what happens in the silence. The second the laptop closes, something starts creeping in, and work is the only thing loud enough to drown it out. Let me hit you with something wild first, because I think you need to hear this number before we go any further. Researchers have found that around 1 in 10 adults show signs of what's called workaholism, which sounds almost normal until you realize that's roughly the same percentage of people who struggle with alcohol dependency in some countries. Think about that for a second. We treat one of those as a disease that ruins lives, and we treat the other one as a personality trait you put on a resume. Hard worker, can't switch off, always on. We literally brag about it in job interviews.
So why does this happen? Why do some people treat their inbox like it's a burning building they have to keep running back into? A lot of it starts way before the first job. Think about the kid who got told they were smart, but only when they brought home the A. Or the kid whose parent was distracted, stressed, maybe gone a lot, and the only time they got real attention was when they achieved something. That kid grows up learning a very specific lesson. Rest doesn't earn love. Output does. And that lesson doesn't just disappear when you turn 25 and get a job. It just finds a new outlet.
Now, instead of grades, it's your job title. Instead of a report card, it's your inbox at 0. Instead of a parent's approval, it's a boss's "great work on this" in a Slack message that you'll reread 3 times and still not feel satisfied by. That's the part that gets people. It's not satisfying. That's actually one of the biggest signs someone is dealing with this, and not just being ambitious. Ambitious people finish a project and feel proud. People who can't stop working finish a project and immediately start looking for the next one, because the good feeling doesn't stick. It's like eating when you're not actually hungry.
You keep doing it, but it never fills you up, because the thing you're actually hungry for was never food in the first place. And here's where it gets a little uncomfortable, because I want you to really sit with this one. For a huge number of people, work is not the problem they're solving. Work is the escape from the problem. If you are constantly busy, you never have to sit in a quiet room and ask yourself hard questions. Are you happy? Is this relationship actually working? Do you even like the life you built? Or did you just build the life that looked the most impressive from the outside?
Busy people don't have to answer those questions because busy people don't have time to ask them. That's not an accident. That's the whole function busyness is serving. There's a psychologist term for part of this called contingent self-worth. Basically, it means your sense of value as a human being is tied to conditions. Not "I am worthy," but "I am worthy if I perform." And when your worth is contingent like that, stopping doesn't feel like rest. Stopping feels dangerous. Because if you're not producing and your value is built entirely on production, then who are you when you're not doing anything? A lot of people genuinely don't know the answer to that question, and it terrifies them more than any deadline ever could. This is also why vacations don't work for these people the way they're supposed to. You've probably seen it. Maybe you've even been it. Someone finally takes a week off, and by day 2, they're anxious, irritable, checking their email just to make sure nothing's on fire. And by day 4, they're basically working from the beach anyway. Everyone around them says, "Relax, you're on vacation." But their nervous system isn't built for stillness.
Stillness feels like falling. Working feels like standing on solid ground. So of course, they keep grabbing for the ground. Now, let's talk about the identity piece, because this might be the biggest one. For a lot of people who can't stop working, their job isn't something they do. It's who they are. Ask them who they are at a party, and they'll tell you their job title before they tell you anything about their actual personality. And when your identity and your job are fused together like that, any threat to the job becomes a threat to your entire sense of self.
A bad quarter isn't just a bad quarter anymore. It's an existential crisis. A missed promotion doesn't just sting. It feels like proof that you are, at your core, not enough. So naturally, the response is to work even harder to protect the one thing your whole identity is standing on. There's also a sneaky reward system running underneath all of this that most people never notice. Constant work creates constant tiny hits of accomplishment.
Check an email? Small hit. Finish a task? Small hit. Reply fast? Get praised for being responsive? Another small hit. It's basically a slot machine, except instead of pulling a lever, you're pulling up your laptop.
Your brain gets a little dopamine every time you produce something, and over time, you start chasing that feeling, the same way you chase any other habit that gives you a quick reward and a short crash right after. That's part of why stopping feels so uncomfortable. You're not just stopping work, you're going through a mini withdrawal. And I think this is the part that really needs to be said out loud, because it doesn't get said enough. This isn't really about laziness versus hard work. Nobody who can't stop working is lazy. That's not the battle they're fighting.
The battle they're fighting is between who they actually are and who they're scared they'll turn out to be if they stop proving themselves. Every extra hour, every weekend spent just finishing this one thing, every notification answered at 11 p.m., it's not really about the task. It's a small, quiet argument being made to themselves. See, I matter. See, I'm not behind. See, I'm not failing. Over and over, every single day. Because deep down, the fear is that the moment they stop making that argument, some old, ugly belief about themselves will finally get to speak.
Here's another thing that surprises people. This pattern doesn't always look like a stressed-out mess running around with 15 tabs open. Sometimes it looks incredibly put together. Some of the most successful people you know, the ones who seem to have it all figured out, are running on this exact same engine. Success can actually hide this stuff really well, because from the outside, working 80 hours a week just looks like ambition. Nobody stages an intervention for someone who's crushing it at work. We give them a promotion instead. Which means the behavior doesn't just go unchecked, it gets financially and socially rewarded, which makes it even harder to walk away from, even when it's clearly costing them their health, their relationships, their sleep, basically everything except the job itself. And relationships really do take the hit here, more than people realize until it's already a problem. Because when your partner or your kid or your friend needs your attention, and work is right there offering an easier, more controllable win, work usually wins. Not because that person doesn't matter, but because relationships are messy and uncertain, and you can't control how someone else feels about you.
Work is predictable. Put in the hours, get the result. People aren't like that. People need presence, not performance. And presence is exactly the skill that gets neglected when you're always in output mode. So what actually helps here? It's not just relax or take a bubble bath, because that advice completely misses what's actually going on. The real shift has to happen at the identity level. It's learning, slowly and honestly kind of uncomfortably, that you are allowed to exist without constantly proving your existence is worth something. That your value isn't a performance review. It's not a title. It's not how fast you reply to a message at 9 p.m. Some of the most freeing moments people describe are the first times they let themselves rest and nothing bad happened. No one left, no one was disappointed. The world didn't fall apart because they took a walk instead of answering one more email. That one small proof that stillness is survivable does more than any productivity hack ever could. Because in the end, the people who can't stop working aren't running towards success. They're running from a question they've never let themselves sit still long enough to answer. And the wildest part is, the second they finally stop and ask it, most of them realize the answer was never about the work at all. If this video helped you understand yourself a little better, consider buying me a coffee using the link in the description. It genuinely helps keep this channel going and lets me keep making videos like this one.